It's time for a round one NFL draft recap. Now, Julian would like us to point out that he's the only one that had Trey Lance going to the 49ers at number 3. So I'm just pointing that out to everyone. I know that he also pointed that out on Twitter. Having said that, were any of you really surprised that this is how it played out? Like, Reid, were you surprised? No.
No, I think when you saw the draft board move, right? I was surprised back when I did my mock draft 45 years ago, Julian, and you waited to the last minute to do yours. So, of course, you're going to cherry pick that third pick. But when you saw the number move, right, as we got closer to draft time, then, yeah, you're not surprised. You're not surprised at all. What you're thinking about now is like, okay, you gave away pretty much everything in your future. You mortgaged your future for this kid. You better work out, right? Like, you gave a ton away for Trey Lance, a guy who's completely raw, has the biggest upside. I'm not surprised that Mac Jones fell all the way far that he did. But yeah, Trey Lance to this spot. I thought Justin Fields was the second best quarterback, but Lance is a better fit right now for Shanahan on that offense.
Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, congrats to Julian for winning a coin flip. It was either going to be Trey Lance or Mac Jones. Great job. But look, the Trey Lance, it doesn't shock me that they finally just decided to go all in on Trey Lance. I love it personally. I think that the Trey Lance is the player who has the most potential to be like the next great superstar in this league from this draft in terms of quarterback play. The next perhaps Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, whatever. The guy's just got an incredible amount of skill from all things considered too. He sounds like a very intelligent dude who's obviously just learned this position so quickly. So you know what? If it ends up being the next Mitch Trubisky kind of pick for the San Francisco 49ers, who cares? Is it probably going to hurt Kyle Shanahan's career? Yes. But I like it when teams go all in on this. They obviously identified who they thought had the best upside, and they went with it. And you know what? Kudos to them for keeping this under wraps. They were clearly throwing smoke screens all kind of month and stuff like that. I think they had their eyes on Trey Lance from the start, and they went out and got him. Good for them.
Okay, well, Jules, let's go to you now. Who's your biggest winner of the first round?
I don't even get to react to...
No, I mean, you can. I thought you were going to say yourself, but continue.
To Reid and Jeff congratulating me on winning a coin flip that only I won and you other 4 bozos lost.
I said congrats.
3. 4, including yourself. If you're including yourself,
me, Jeff. I don't think Reid did. What are we on to? What's the next question, Jesse?
I was asking you, who's your biggest winner of the first round?
Biggest winner. I actually think the Bears and Giants trade was a big win for both teams, which is rare considering the everything that we've given the Giants for some not so great moves over the years, everything that we've given the Bears for, like the Trey Lance move that we're talking about. Like Jeff said, he likes that they're all in no matter what on Trey Lance. That's what the Bears did for Mitch Trubisky and took him over to Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes, and that didn't work. And now they finally got they let it, Fields was never gonna slide to them at 20, but they let him slide far enough where they could make a reasonable deal to get him. And while it's an overpayment, giving a first to move up 9 spots, it's not if Justin Fields is really the guy. So I like what the Bears did a lot. They identified their guy. They got him at a fair price. And the Giants, on the other hand, who have made some poor moves in the past, very early in the draft, just take advantage of it. Tony maybe went a little bit higher than expected, but he's a good wide receiver. That's obviously the position they wanted. They were expecting Devontae Smith there. Eagles and Cowboys make a little move to jump up and get him. But they get a lot of future picks to move back and get the position that they were going to take anyway. So I really like the trade for both teams.
All right, Jeff, who's your biggest winner of the first round?
Yeah, it's the Bears. Look, I mean, sure, the Giants got some more draft capital, but I mean, again, we're talking about the difference between Justin Fields and Kadarius Toney. That's who the Bears would have had to take around pick 20. This was fine. This was a fine price. They played this perfectly. Like Julian said, they waited till the last second to move up. It only cost them 1 first. Look at what San Francisco had to pay to get a similar prospect at quarterback. We're not talking about some kind of raw talent here in Justin Fields. Justin Fields was possibly predicted by a lot of people to go second overall like 3 months ago. This is a very high-end quarterback. The Bears are now going to have a QB on a rookie deal again for the next 4 or 5 years. They're already in a bad place in salary cap. This is really going to help them. They've got pieces in place with Allen Robinson, the defense. They've got other young players like Darnell Mooney who's going to benefit from this. This was the perfect time for the Bears to do this. And guess what? They didn't pay that much. One first. If that's what it costs to get up and get a guy like Justin Fields, yes, I don't mind what the Giants did, but the big winners here are the Bears. Again, who cares if it doesn't work out? They went out and got their guy, and guess what? They actually paid a reasonable price for it.
All right, Reid, your biggest winner, who's it going to be?
Yeah, you guys forgetting about Andy Dalton, though, QB1 in Chicago, that he's Justin Fields. Of course, it's Justin Fields in Chicago. He had a good run. He had a good run. QB1, you got to change that tweet, though, or that post on IG. No, like I agree with the guys with the Bears, but how about the Chargers? Like they didn't have to move up at all to get arguably, right, in some circles, the best offensive lineman in Rashawn Slater. This guy's extremely versatile, and you need to protect Justin Herbert. They didn't have to do anything. I thought they might have had to move up, especially when we saw Penei Sewell kind of drift a little bit, but him going to Detroit and then Slater not going to Carolina and Julian's boy, J.C. Horn, going there. They saw that the Chargers saw that, hey, we can feasibly get this guy without moving and staying put, and that's what they did. So I like the Chargers.
All right, guys. How about the biggest loser here, Geoff? Who would you say is the biggest loser?
Yeah, it's definitely the Panthers. Just how this whole summer or this whole offseason has played out for the Panthers, let's just take a look at it. I mean, they spent draft capital to go out and get Sam Darnold, and then in the first round, they drafted a cornerback when Justin Fields and Mac Jones were both sitting there, and they could have had them for nothing to move up. So basically what you're saying is you would have rather given out a lot of money to Sam Darnold, given out draft capital to acquire him, rather than getting Justin Fields for free and getting him on a rookie deal, which is really going to help you against the salary cap. You could have spent that draft capital you spent on Sam Darnold to get a cornerback. There are cornerbacks like Kyle Fuller out there on the market for like nothing. So this was, to me, like this whole offseason for the Panthers it's been bad. It's just been ridiculous. I think they got a worse quarterback. They spent more to get him. Now they have to pay more against the salary cap. And they also had to burn one of their top draft picks on a cornerback now who wasn't even the consensus number one cornerback for a lot of people. So I absolutely hate the offseason for the Panthers. They had so much potential. I do like Matt Rule, but this has not played out well for them. I think they're really going to regret the moves they made this summer or this offseason.
Geoff, who do you think the biggest loser is?
That was me.
Am I Geoff now?
Reid.
It's okay, Jesse. I got you. It's Friday. We're all waiting for the weekend. Well, like I mentioned earlier before we came on this segment, I just leave the Las Vegas Raiders in the slot to make sure every year I have to keep on doing research because we know the Raiders, they make some questionable moves. And look, fine, this is all conjecture right now. It comes from a great school in Alabama because, like Julian says, they're good schools and good players, and we know that. But I don't like that move at all, especially because there are other guys, right, in terms of the offensive line that were a little bit higher graded, like Darashaw was still out there, and I think that would have been a nice fit for the Raiders, but I digress because I can spend an entire segment talking about the Raiders. I think it's the Jets. I think when you take a look, I don't mind them moving and trading up to get a lineman, but I'm not a fan of Wilson, and it kind of goes to what Geoff is saying is, if you're trading away Sam Darnold and then you're using your second pick overall to get Wilson, in your mind, you have to know that Wilson is going to be better than Darnold, right? Like that's what you're doing. And essentially what you could have done if you were the Jets and if you kept Sam Darnold is you could have got someone like Kyle Pitts. I know getting Kyle Pitts at number 2 overall seems like such a reach for a tight end, but giving weapons to Sam Darnold would have been a lot better. Like Sam Darnold he's only 23. Or whatever he is, 22, 23. I don't think that, he's still got a lot of run left and we don't know his full potential. So the Jets right now to me are the team that even though they picked the second quote unquote best quarterback with this extreme elite arm talent, I just don't like it. So if it's not the Raiders, because I'm extremely critical of my team, it's the Jets for me.
Okay, Reid, how about you? I'm just kidding. Julian, go ahead.
Yeah, the Raiders are the easy answer. They took an O-lineman that was a coin flip to be available to them at 48 when they pick next. And if he wasn't, you can just get a very similar prospect. So why not use your high-end pick to fill another area of need? But that's too easy. Like Reid said, we can use them every year. They took like a corner that was supposed to go in the 3rd round last year. It just happens every time. So for me, and I like Geoff's points about Carolina. Like, if it's not the Raiders, I'm gonna be honest. I just totally forgot who I was gonna say.
Okay, yeah, take a second. It's fine.
You just praise me.
Who lost? Oh, let's just go to the Packers because, like, their day was ridiculous with the Rodgers rumors and how it affected Super Bowl odds, win total odds coming off the board. Is pretty crazy. It makes you feel like there's something there to it. But at the same time, the Packers came out last night and said, we're not trading Aaron Rodgers. So if that's your mindset, you once again just took a cornerback, a defensive player in the 1st round, a guy that was projected to go mid to late 2nd round, all the way up at 30. Not that he's a bad pick. You know, he went to Georgia, SEC, great speed. But if there was finally a year to show Aaron Rodgers some good faith here, like, okay, look, we took you your wide receiver. We can fix this relationship. Why don't you stick around? And they don't do it. So it just looks to me like the Packers are a complete mess right now. And while you don't want to, maybe they just know. What it tells me is maybe they know he's completely gone, because if he's not,
that's what I was going to say.
Somebody that's going to make Rodgers want to stay. So the fact they didn't do that maybe shows us a little bit more that the Packers and Aaron Rodgers really are coming to an end.
Yep.
That's crazy. The Packers' future is in jeopardy. Reid, what surprised you the most about how that 1st round played out?
Oh, touche, Cofield. I like that.
I mean, I stole that from a meme I saw on the internet. But
it doesn't matter. It's yours because you said it. Everything works on the internet. It's the first. But the surprise, I think when you take a look at, nothing surprises me anymore because we think we know what's going to happen. And Julian will say that he does, but he really doesn't. About who's going to go where.
I had the most accurate mock draft, so I knew more of what was going to happen than any of you.
True. Yeah. It's like, a blind squirrel finds a nut, that whole analogy. But
I think 7 nuts out of the top 10. But all right, keep going.
I think the Saints probably surprised me the most because this is not so much of a narrative, more of a team. Like they had some early reports yesterday morning that's saying that they were going to make a huge move, right? Watch out for the Saints. They might make a huge move. And then they go out and they get a defensive end when they need help at wide receiver. They need help, in the interior defensive line. They need a lot of help at defensive back, I think, as well. And then they go take an edge rusher, right? Like that to me is something that really was surprising. I'm not a huge fan of it. The guy's got a lot of size, but I just wasn't a fan. So that surprised me with the Saints because usually the Saints are pretty good with their draft picks, but this yesterday wasn't great.
All right. What do you think here, Jules? What surprised you the most?
Honestly, like everybody had, if Mac Jones didn't go to the Niners, the Patriots will trade up to get him, or maybe he'll slide to 15. I'm shocked that the Patriots actually pulled the trigger, spent 1st round draft capital on the quarterback position. I know that Tom Brady just left and it is a position of need, and Cam Newton wasn't great last year. But Bill Belichick is a stubborn guy, and he will find other ways to fill that position. And, you coach up players, you do it on defense, you find other ways to win. And Tom Brady, obviously, we all know, pick 199 in the 6th round. You can find your quarterback elsewhere. So the fact that I know the Patriots need a quarterback, but the fact that they didn't go with a guy, later tonight in the 3rd round or even on Saturday, or find a way to bring in a guy, even if it's not Jimmy Garoppolo, that suits Belichick is very surprising to me. They invested a 1st round pick. It's the first time Bill Belichick has ever done that in the quarterback position. So I know a lot of people thought this was it. And, the Alabama connection with Saban, Mac Jones makes sense. He doesn't run around. He's a Tom Brady type of prospect in terms of it being a pocket passer, but they actually did it. They picked a quarterback, and that shocked me.
All right, Geoff, what shocked you about the 1st round?
Yeah, it was a little bit shocking, definitely. I've always been expecting to see Jimmy Garoppolo eventually get traded to the 49ers this offseason, but it really doesn't look like that's going to happen. To me, the biggest shock of the 1st round was just that there wasn't more splashy trades. I mean, the trades we saw were pretty reasonable. I mean, the Bears moved up, but they only moved up like 8 spots or whatever. And again, it wasn't like a huge capital they gave up. The Eagles moved up and grabbed Devontae Smith, but it wasn't a big splashy trade. They just moved up a couple spots. It was very reasonable. It was smart moves, in my opinion. Generally, we see teams trying to like really overpay to get up into the top 10 or something of the draft. I thought we'd see a team do that, probably for Justin Fields or maybe for one of the wide receivers, and we didn't do that. So I think the biggest surprise for me was just the lack of like really kind of overpayment, because we just tend to see teams fall in love with players. Didn't really happen. It was still a very exciting draft and we had some good movement, but I guess the biggest surprise for me was just the well-managed draft capital from the GMs this year. Nobody really just like broke the bank.